Welcome back, YouTube. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hope everyone is having a good night. Going to be doing a 1 hour grind here at Underground Gyfin. I haven't tried this spot out yet. I finally got my Dosa here at level 60. So essentially, exit out of this here. So essentially, I pretty much got him to level 58 last night, and then parked him here at Murmach, right? And then I pretty much went from 58 to 60 in about, I don't know, it's probably about an hour. It wasn't that long at all. So I did that earlier today. And then I came here and maybe tried like 5 minutes just to see how it felt here at level 60. And it felt pretty good. So we'll see. I have a combo here up on the side that we're gonna try to do. I think it seems pretty decent. Probably we'll have to modify it a little bit as we kind of move forward. The side. And yeah, while we're here, I'm also gonna play a podcast. This podcast is actually gonna be with Asmongold. So I've actually never listened to Asmongold's podcast, so this should be interesting. It's about Gross Crawler debate on his upcoming MMO, I guess. So we'll see. Might be an interesting topic. I don't know. Anything with Asmongold though is pretty interesting. He has very good opinions. Let's see. Before I start that up though, let me make sure I get all my buffs. We are going to try to fully buff up here. Let me go ahead and do my temp buff again. Well, maybe. Invalid. Of course it's invalid. Why would it not be invalid? We're going to do an hour in the Marnie realm. Check that out. 90. All right, so that's fully up. We're still good with that. We got this just rolling. I don't know. I mean, the experience would be nice. I don't know if I should switch these out or not. I don't know. I think I'll leave the XP in. It'd be nice to get a level 61 here. We got that running. I'm going to do the Frenzy Drought as well. And we'll also put a couple of these in. Let's see. We'll do 1 hour here. Okay. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be the Frenzy Drought. All right, I think I have all my buffs on. Gosh, it's always such a hassle to try to remember all the buffs. Ooh, pets. Okay, let me go ahead and make sure I feed my pets here. Let's see. Feed. I guess I don't have any feed. Of course not. Why would I not? Just buy 20 of these. All right. Let's see. What's my drop rate? So it'd be 237. Not bad. Man, all right. I think I'm ready. I think it's gonna probably take a few minutes to try to remember the combo because it's been like 6 hours, 7 hours since I've done it. All right. We go ahead and start this up.
What made you want to start your own studio? Because, like, obviously you worked previously
Hopefully we can hear this pretty good.
Blizzard at Warcraft, and then worked with Riot on the MMO, and probably.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like it's pretty loud enough.
League of Legends as well. Also, I believe, like, what made you want to go and make your own studio instead?
I really appreciated all the places I got to work. I got to work with great teams and great games, and I was really fortunate in this field to not ever like really struggle for funding, which is a big challenge. But I feel like all of the three
he's not in
places
person.
worked were
I was like, man, his
slow,
audio
and
sounds
they're
kind of
slow
weird.
because they're big companies, and I think big companies just by definition move slowly. And I felt like, we could make a game a lot faster than this if we just kind of got rid of all of the approval layers in the way. So maybe I'm wrong and we'll fall flat on our face, but that's the theory, is that we can move really fast.
So how fast are you moving then? What is the
Yeah, give us a time frame.
day that goes
Give
to
us a
good
time
development?
frame.
July 17th of 20. No, I don't know.
I believed it for a second.
No, and if there was a date like that, it's because for any company, it's because like marketing picks.
Sure.
The devs don't know until you get a lot closer.
Ew,
Because we have all these
echo.
assumptions, and right now we're in the process of starting to
Oh,
play test them to see
hey,
what's working.
leave me
But
alone.
stuff's gonna change,
Leave me
and
alone.
we want to have a really open play test process. And players are gonna tell us, this feature sounded cool on paper, kind of sucks, so we want to have time to make it good before we actually launch.
All right,
When do you
move
think
ahead
the first
and
playtest
pop.
is going to be?
If it was up to me, it'd be really soon.
Okay.
I think the team is a little more conservative. They're like, wait, let's like have some, better art in the game first.
Yeah.
Go ahead
no
and
doubt.
pop
But
this.
it will be a lot earlier than a lot
Pop
of games
this.
let themselves be played.
Oh, no,
All right, let's
I was
do
going
it.
to ask a little bit about the art, right? Because obviously,
You
with
know
League and
what?
WoW, they are very stylized games. I saw you did a tweet, and
I
you
really
talked
need to turn
a little
that
bit
thing
about
off.
it, is you were saying somewhere in the middle.
Okay, it's
What's
totally
your
gonna mess up my
philosophy
hour,
on
but oh
art
well.
style for a game like this? Because you mentioned you wanted
Settings.
Ghost to be playable indefinitely, right? For 10, 20 years. How do you make an art style that
There
lasts
should
for
be
10
a
to 20
setting
years?
here.
That is an advantage of a stylized. An art style's a little bit stylized. Like, I'm not saying
Alerts,
we'll
maybe.
go World of Warcraft level, or certainly not like Fortnite level, but when you try to go photorealistic, that ages really, really quickly.
Yep.
And
There
it
we
takes
go.
forever anyway.
All right, now we should be
We'll
good.
probably end up being not photorealistic. We'll be
Okay,
a little
really?
more- a
I thought
little
that was
bit
gonna do it.
stylized.
I guess not.
If I had to guess, a little more
That's kind of
mature than
annoying.
kind of the World of Warcraft look, but we'll see.
Okay, yeah, I guess that kind of makes a lot of sense. And you're starting to see other games that are trying to figure out where on that spectrum they want to be on. So, yeah, I do think that, I mean, especially making those hyper-realistic games. Like, I remember seeing a game in 2014 and, oh, wow, these graphics
Dude,
are
I
so
can't
amazing.
see
And then by
anything, bro.
2018, it's like, oh, it's another game, right? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
I think
my
you're definitely right
goodness.
about that. So, Greg, you talked a little bit about kind of being able to
Settings.
develop things very quickly and, like the pacing of content development, how it's responding to the community. And I think, like, let's be real. there's been a huge controversy recently with
Ay,
how
ay.
people talking about
Nothing ever
AI.
works out the way
How
you
do
want
you
it to,
feel
huh?
like AI fits into game development? And how do you feel like, because
I
you've been in the
thought
industry for what, 25 years now? It's such a long time. How do you feel like
alerts.
it's going to evolve the industry? How do you think it's going to change it? And do you think that like you will try to use different versions of that on Ghost, or are you not sure yet? You're waiting to see kind of how the technology evolves?
There's definitely places we will use AI.
All right,
I
full
think
screen.
the big
That
question
okay.
is around the generative AI, where
Right.
Ay,
it
ay, ay.
like
Okay.
pulls text or images off of the internet and may or may not violate copyrights or steal
I
artist
think.
work
All right,
and
I
stuff
think I
like
might have
that.
fixed it.
We won't have any of that AI in Ghost. At least we're not planning on it. Where we might do stuff is, things like armor fitting or interpolating animations, or maybe even like making the grass on the hillside look random rather than placed by an artist. But I don't think we're going to go the route of the NPC, we don't have to write any dialogues. The NPC magically says interesting things. I just don't know if the technology's there yet.
Well, the technology is there for the NPC to say things. It's not there for the NPC to say interesting things. yeah, that's really where the problem is. And obviously, like with
Dang, I already killed
making
that quickly. Holy
new
cow!
MMO with a new studio and everything, like an MMO, and I'm pretty sure you would understand this better than I do, so correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like an MMO is like the hardest type of game to make. How do you do that with a small studio?
Dude,
I think you're right.
so
I've
quick,
said
bro.
that before.
It's actually
because
kind of
an
insane.
MMO has to have almost every kind of system you can imagine. It needs rewards. It needs a good camera. It needs good network code. It needs PvP combat. What we're
What the
doing
heck?
is starting with like
Oh, is the butcher out? Is that
experts
why?
in each area. So we have someone who's just doing UX. We'll have someone who's just doing VFX. Someone who's just doing audio, and then based on that, we might be able to outsource some of the other components, but if not, we'll just hire up what we need for those particular fields.
Right. Okay.
I think starting small, having really good tools, hopefully will let us do a lot with what we have.
So you bring in an expert in each different area, and then that person kind of builds out the team that they need for that section of the game?
Exactly.
Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that one really big difference between like, what you're doing and with, for example, like Blizzard or Riot or a lot of these other big companies, and I think the only real parallel that we see to this right now is Ashes of Creation. I think that you mentioned them actually on the last video that you did, the live stream, and you're completely open book. You're talking about everything, like just having an open
So hard to
conversation.
focus.
And I'm
So-
wondering, because like I used to read the dev water coolers back in the day with like, Mists of Pandaria, etc. Like, did that kind of inform your decision to do that? Or how did you arrive at the decision to just completely have an open book in terms of development?
Oh, 100%. Like going all the way back to Age of Empires, like we were talking about. I used to say, we're not sure if this, I don't know,
All right,
this
come on.
civilization bonus is good or not. Let's ask the community what they think.
Yeah.
And, Microsoft and everyone kind of freaked out about that. It's like, well, you can't go ask players. They'll think we're incompetent if we, have to ask them their opinion. But I just
Bro, what's your
tell people
GPU
all
and
the time
CPU?
that you do not want people like poking holes in your ideas or making suggestions or saying,
Oh crap!
yeah,
Which one
we're
am I?
not really excited about that feature. We're more excited about another feature.
The
the
butcher.
reason people don't want to do it is it takes a lot of bandwidth. You'll probably get some.
So my
hateful assholes out
GPU
there who say things that
is
you don't wanna hear.
a 3070
But
GTX
really,
3070,
if we're gonna launch a game and players are gonna,
and my
like
CPU
aspects of
is an
it, everyone
i7
wants
like
to see it.
8700K.
So how much of your game kind of like, obviously I've seen a lot of discourse about the red and blue zones.
It's
and I'm
my
actually
PC is
really
about
curious that like how much of that is open to interpretation by the player base. Like
my
whenever
PC is
that first
about
playtest
5
comes
years
out,
old,
what
give or
kind of
take.
information are you hoping to get out of the players?
But I did upgrade.
It depends on how
Ooh.
much, like how robust everything is.
What's going on
at
there?
that point. But what we really hope to hear are things like a player saying,
I did
"This
upgrade
blue zone feels too randomly
my
generated.
graphics card
It doesn't feel like there's any love there. There aren't interesting
to
things
the
that feel
3070.
very,
I think before it was like 10
computer-made
1070 or
yet.
something like that.
Or they don't players aren't sure why they should like migrate from a blue zone to a red zone and back because the core loop isn't telling them, well, maybe you should go to a red zone now because it has a reward you want or something like that. I think both of those would be excellent sources of feedback.
Just like kind of like, is this, how much of this is a guided experience versus how much of it am I trying to like just figure out myself and kind of just, you know, take a shotgun approach to, I guess you could say.
But yeah, we really want exploration to be a big thing. But
Okay.
at the same time,
pay attention.
Warcraft
Pay attention.
So, you know, got so popular because it offers a really directed experience. You step out of, you know, your quest zone, and immediately there's a quest giver saying, well, why don't you go here next? There's another quest.
Yeah, I need to upgrade my PC, honestly.
And even beyond just doing that.
It's about that time.
If we are asking players to go out and explore a little more and kind of see what's over the next hill, that's a different experience than World of Warcraft's kind of quest-based system. It's probably a little more like Legend of Zelda, the two most recent games.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hi there. Retired
Also,
bomber pilot Asmongold here to tell
why
you about today's
I don't
sponsor, War Thunder, featuring over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever, and it's available for free right now on PC and consoles. Join a community of over 70 million players and immerse yourself in PvP combat by piloting history's most powerful war machines. You'll be able to customize each of them to your liking.
I don't understand.
Camouflages, historical markings.
My chat's not showing up, which is kind of annoying.
Just ask my co-pilot, Imaru. Believe it or not, she has over 300 confirmed
Why does it do
kills.
that?
War Thunder also features one of the most intricate vehicle damage systems in gaming.
Hit you in the head.
Component designed to respond to harm
You okay?
in a realistic manner. The whole
I elbowed you
experience is
with my
so realistic and immersive,
arm.
in fact, it sometimes
Rip.
reminds me of the war. A little bit too much. To jump into War Thunder for free yourself, check out our link in the description or in the pinned comment below. It's available on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox.
Copy
and there's
link.
a massive bonus pack available for new and returning
I don't know
players
why it does that,
who are
dude.
signing
So
back
annoying.
on for the
Let's
first
see.
time in over 6 months. The bonus pack includes rewards such as the exclusive vehicle decorator, Eagle of Valor,
Alright, maybe it'll work
100,000
this time.
Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium. These bonuses are available for a limited time only, so check it out soon. Thanks, War Thunder, for sponsoring our podcast.
You play Elden Ring?
Yeah, a ton.
What do you think about the quest in that game?
I mean, it's awesome. The parts I don't like about it are, you know, keeping a notepad next to me or something to write it all down. But
Yeah.
the way they're not in your face, the way it feels like really woven into the world, the way you can like miss quest, and even after your third or fourth playthrough, you're finding new stuff. Like, I think that's really cool.
And like, what other games, like, because obviously I brought up Elden Ring, like, and you know, maybe a couple of other ones so far. What other games have you been playing recently that you feel like has really kind of given you insight into like kind of how you want to kind of move your game?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Trying to think, going a little back again. I've played a ton recently. We have a lot of influence from Valheim, because that was kind of the less hardcore survival game that came out during the pandemic, and everyone was wanting something kind of cozy to do with their friends. So we
I have 300 hours in it.
Yeah, we've looked at that game a ton. There's a couple of I wish I could remember. There's a couple of combat games we've looked at that do a pretty good job of they're not great games, so I don't necessarily want to say their names, but they do a good job with the kind of combat that we're trying to do. So we've been looking at those a lot.
A big conversation with MMOs is tab targeting versus action combat.
That's a good question.
We're much closer to tab targeting than.
Ew.
Okay. And the reason I say that is going back to Elden Ring.
I won't play it.
Has much more action combat.
Yes.
You can be the guy with a pot on your head and no armor and beat really, really tough bosses because you're so good at execution.
Let me solo her. Yes.
Yeah. To us, that doesn't feel like an MMO. An MMO feels like you need to like get the good gear to have a chance to beat the boss. And if gear feels really optional, we worry it just won't have that kind of RPG feel. So we want to be more actiony in the sense that you can move around the battlefield a little bit, and positioning matters, and you're not just going to sit there swinging at the target over and over again, but not so actiony that like you can dodge everything and take 0 damage.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I feel like there was a lot of like classic WoW and old school WoW bosses that kind of followed that same paradigm where it's like you can do it under geared, but you sure can't do it with no gear. So I think that definitely makes sense. And like obviously with managing player expectations, do you think that this is a problem with doing the open development strategy, or is it kind of, a double-edged sword basically? Like you're going to have some advantages with some disadvantages?
Oh yeah, I mean there are going to be players outright who say, "Oh, if it's tab targeting, I'm not going to play it."
Naturally.
Without trying it, they're just going to say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we tried like healing
That's me.
hard without some level of targeting. If you don't target with healing, you end up with a lot of like smart heals or area heals, and there's
man.
It's not like super satisfying that way.
Yeah, I played New World. Yeah, I know. And I actually am kind of curious about, like obviously you've been in games forever. I'm curious, what mistakes have you seen games make in the past that you feel like you're trying to avoid with making Ghost?
Oh gosh, I mean, we could talk for hours on that.
It's a pretty cool
A
name.
really big one that drove our development philosophy is that a lot of MMOs come out with a great level up experience because that's what the devs focused on and that's what was play tested. And then you get to max level and you're like, well, now what? And the devs are like, well, give us 3 months and we'll make new content for you. And so we really, really want to avoid that. We want to make sure our end game is solid. And the only way to make sure it's solid is by letting players play test the end game.
And so whenever you talk about endgame, like endgame is really all about the systems. Like the systems are the driving factor, I feel like, for almost all of the endgame, like at least experiences that I've had in MMOs. And like, how do you balance between, systems and just kind of raw, like just spontaneous gameplay, like exploration type stuff?
It really is driven to a high degree by
Yeah, I feel like
because
they definitely die pretty quickly.
At endgame, players get very focused on what do I do to get that next power increase, whether it's a new piece of gear or whatever. And so
Combo is so easy.
The rewards point them is kind of where players go. And if you teach players, hey, wandering around in the open world is very inefficient, they'll just stop doing it. And if you tell them, oh, mythic raiding, that's where it's at, they'll kill themselves doing mythic raiding. So we just need a rewards design that says, for example, raiding may be the most efficient way to gear up, but it's not the only way. And if you want to just kind of push blue shards or run through the hardest blue shards, that is also a good way to get in-game rewards.
It's kind of like a Timeless Isle back in the day, a little bit like that.
Yeah, Candace brings that up all the time, that Timeless Isle is a great example. And I don't say that lightly because I know Blizzard has also tried to recreate Timeless Isle.
They sure have.
They're stuck.
Yeah. It feels like a good end game. It's not too directed. A lot of it is, I'm just going to kind of see what happens. I'm going to try this and maybe I'll be rewarded for it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And like, obviously, like with MMOs are a very interesting genre because you have such a massive spectrum of people that are trying to play them. You have people that are trying to play them like it's an esport, and people are trying to play them 3 hours a week. And so like, how do you balance between making content for pro players versus making content for like casual players? And just like in general,
Butcher has appeared.
Like with WoW, right? It was always PvPers versus raiders and stuff like that. Like how do you deal with that?
It's a bit of it's almost like a cop-out answer because to have a big enough audience to kind of make an MMO feel like an MMO, you need to appeal to a lot of different players. You can't just say we're the MMO for like hardcore PvPers because that may be a very small audience. So you just have to think about what is satisfying to different groups of players and how can you deliver an experience that they will enjoy. Now, again, we can't be everything to everyone. We're probably not going to be a professional esport, for example, but we think we can offer at least a competitive PvE scene that may be worth streaming. We think we can have PvP because that's, it's important to a lot of players. And just make sure that if all you care about is like, I don't know, hanging out with your friends in blue shards, and you're not ever going to run raiding, you may have less to do, but you'll still have something to do. You may just run out of content if you don't participate in whole swaths of the game.
Yeah, I think that's true. I'm actually kind of curious, like, what's your philosophy? Because, like, it's always good. Like, so I think that MMOs, like, one thing that's good is to have people be able to do what they want to do, but also have, like, really great incentives to just kind of, you know, come a little bit out of their shell, right? You have, like, for example, like a new WoW player. They don't really like playing with other people, but they really want to kill hoggers. So they're going to have to get into a group and, you know, do something, or dead mines, right? And they hit that wall. Like, how do you feel like approaching that friction is like a healthy, like, where's that healthy balance between allowing people to play the game the way they want and then also creating friction that can feel good to overcome, as terms of like being in a big group, or, you know, being able to like maybe do a profession that gives you an advantage, or PvP or anything like that?
I think the friction's important, and I know as devs, it's really easy for us to kind of give in to the players. Players are frustrated because they want to achieve something, and there's a barrier in the way.
Oh,
So
I'm
it's really
stuck.
tempting to say, well, let's
Come
just
on.
remove the barrier, and maybe they'll have more fun. But sometimes it's that, you know, it's that struggle that makes it so rewarding. And the reason, you know, killing Millennia in Elden Ring feels like an accomplishment is because she's freaking hard. And so not everything in Ghost needs to be
Jeez,
freaking
dude.
hard, but occasionally you should come
Kill
up
him
against
so
bosses
fast,
that you
bro.
can't solo.
Like, it's
And,
actually
yeah,
insane.
you can skip them, or you can see if there's other players around who want to jump in with you.
Ooh, I've got a really good question. So, like, you remember back in Legion where they had the Mage Tower? And, like, you're starting to see, like, a lot of these other MMOs that have, like, these solo challenges. Like, RuneScape has a lot of these, for example, too. And, like, how do you, like, do you feel like an MMO needs to have those solo challenges, or do you want to have a focus on group challenges, like traditional raid content? Because I'm starting to see a bit of a divergence here with different MMOs that are being released.
I mean, my philosophy tends to be very much on the group side, because that's the magic of MMOs, is there's other players around. You know, there are great single player RPGs, like play Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate offer a great single player experience. What a massive multiplayer game offers is lots and lots of other players. So, and, you know, I may lose the fight on this, and there may be other people on the team or players who really pressure us to create a little more solo content. But I worry that's kind of a distraction from the heart of the game, which is either friends or randos just kind of grouping up to overcome something.
Well, how many people, how many friends, how many randos do you think it would be good for a raid? Are we talking about 40 people, 8 people like Final Fantasy, 20 like Retail WoW? Where are we at?
It's funny because there are reasons why smaller raids are more hardcore, and there's reasons why larger raids are more hardcore.
Logistical.
The challenge, you probably know what I'm going to say here, but the challenge with smaller raids is like everyone has to be on their game, and there's no room for, like, you know, your buddy from work who's not great at the game but is really excited to come along. Like, when you did Molten Core, there was room for people like that, because you needed 40, but you didn't need all 40 to be at the top of their game. Players kind of burnt out on that because the logistics of getting that group together week after week was hard. But overall, I think I'm personally more of a fan of larger raids.
Okay, is there a butcher somewhere?
There's an argument that larger raids are actually more forgiving that way. And I don't know if we can literally do 40. That is a lot of people, but I don't think we'll build a raid size around 6.
Well, you know, my vote, I mean, to be honest, 40-man raids, logistical nightmare, but damn, it's pretty cool to have 40 people in the same place doing the same thing, right? Like, there's this certain sense of spectacle to it that I just really enjoy. And so that's definitely good to
going through these dungeons.
Exactly,
no other game that can offer that experience.
And like, you talk about an army going through, like, whenever, like, if you look at a Venn diagram between people whose favorite movie was Lord of the Rings and people that play MMOs, there is a huge overlap there. And so you're talking about these, like, massive battles, like world PvP. Where does that stand? I mean, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a red shard situation in your game. And, like, what's the scale of that you feel is fulfilling? What's the scale of that your team really wants to hit?
The funny thing about those really big battles is they're not super satisfying. Like, even if you can get the frame rate decent, you can't balance PvP so that 1-on-1 is fair and also, like, 5-on-1 is fair. So those big battles just tend to be really, really chaotic. And so where I'm going with that is we may offer it and just not worry about the balance aspect of it. And if someone is really good at stunning whole groups of enemies, well, you know what? kudos to that class for just being really good at that situation. We would love for World PvP to be more about objective control and maybe even like politics, like my guild wants control of this mine, rather than let's just gank everyone we see who's not part of our
Let's
group.
see.
How do you feel about territory control? Because like
Bruh,
obviously
tell me your
territory control,
combos
like for example, New Worlds
and
used territory
add-ons.
control
I love to try
recently.
the class on
There's been a couple of
Aztec.
other games
Yeah?
that use it. Obviously, you know, games like Rust, of course, are based completely around territory control. Like, how do you feel like?
Yeah,
'cause,
I'll
like,
show you.
obviously, this is like another like balancing in a lot of cases. Like what it defaults down to is like pro
I don't know why
players
my
that
chat's
are
not showing up on the
controlling the
screen.
territories and casual players that are trying to access the territories. Do you feel like that's a integral part of your game? Do you think that that could be a good part of it,
Let
or
me see.
is it something you kind of want to?
I'm not too worried about the trash per hour because I'm still trying to learn it. Okay.
It will be
All right.
because
Hold on.
resources in our game are valuable and so players want them. The challenge of territory control, I think, again, it comes down to
Oh, I'm like stuck right there.
you have to, the first question a player is going to ask is, well, what do I get for controlling the territory? It's like, well, do you get, you know, a star next to your name, or do you get valuable resources, or do you get better loot? And then the next question you have to ask is, well, if someone already controls the territory, what's my reward for attempting to take control back? Because usually, even if you have that kind of territorial control, someone wins, and then it's a stalemate. And so there's some kind of like reset from the game standpoint. So I think the question to ask is like, what do I get from doing this activity, and does that make it fun enough to participate in?
Yeah, I think it's just that simple. Like I like your philosophy that pretty much rewards drive gameplay. Because I think that that's extremely true. It's true in WoW. I think it's true in a lot of other MMOs where, like, obviously, whoa, why is everybody doing this? Well, because it gives the best gear in the game. That's why. Like, it's pretty simple, right? And like,
Chatbot.
Yeah, Terra Mill versus South Shore a lot. It was fun, like it is for everyone.
All right, hold on. Oh my gosh, dude. Am I gonna have to do this every time? Because that's gonna be kind of annoying. All right, where is my platform at? Yeah, so I'm connected. So why is my chat not working? I tell you, YouTube, it's on a whole nother level when it comes to this thing here. Hey, there it goes. Jeez. Ay, ay, ay. All right, let me put on key input. All right, hopefully. Okay, yeah, you can't even see that. Let me move over here. All right, so you can see, all right, here's the combo. So essentially you do C, maybe I can show you here. So C, and then you go and you just hold this, and then as soon as you see him go up in the air with that like kind of long sword, then you go ahead and switch to L, and then you just hold L, and you just hold L until he does that right there, right? As soon as he does that, then you turn your camera, you hit C again, and then you do Shift E, Shift F, Shift L and B, Shift R and B, Shift Q, space C, and then you start it all over again. Yeah, dude, it is like super easy. It is super easy. Like, I definitely think I can pull a lot of trash here for sure. Where am I? Oh, yeah, red. C, Shift E. Shift F. So I can't really even finish it all. Shift L and B. Shift R and B. Shift Q. Space C, and then restart. C. Like it's super easy, dude. Like once you get it down, now this is how I do it. It might not be the most effective, but it seems like it does a pretty good job, and it's pretty much repeatable. So, like it's pretty much just infinite, which is kind of nice. I think having the frontal guard there too, like the entire time, is super nice. Yeah, so far though, I really like this class. So I must have enticed you to maybe try the class. Why not? Why not live on Twitch, bro? You know, that's a good question. I do want to try to stream on Twitch. The issue though is, so I tried the restream, and with the restream, like you can only upload like 720p, so like the quality is not the greatest. And sometimes I use these VODs for like videos, and yeah, the quality just isn't as good as like if I just straight up just live stream to YouTube. And I could double stream. Like I could do separate like YouTube and then separate Twitch through a plugin through OBS. But to be honest with you, my PC can't handle the double stream. But I did try the restream. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely one of my things I'd like to try to figure out is to stream to both. I know streaming to Twitch is better, quote unquote. However, it's hard to like get exposure on Twitch. You know, with YouTube, it's just much easier to be found because if you make videos, people will see you because of the algorithm and the search bar and everything. Like, oh yeah, okay. Let's say. Feel like I saw the butcher there. Let me bring him over here. Super easy. Super easy. Ah. Start this
one
back
for
up.
like an hour, and then you're like, but
Back to
am I
full
accomplishing
screen
anything?
here.
It's fun, and I giggle a little bit when I like kill the the Taran Shaman, but then nothing comes of it. I don't like get experience or loot, and nothing changes in the world. And after a while, you're like, this is pointless.
You're not going to go and do this for like a month, right? You'll do it for a few days. There's the novelty of it. And then after that, people move on. And it's nice to be able to do that, but it's not like that should be the default mode of gameplay. I agree with you. I feel like with like a lot of MMOs, and I don't know if you kind of feel the same way with this, but for the longest time, it feels like every MMO is trying to be WoW. Every MMO is trying to be WoW. It's trying to be and recapture the magic that WoW had. And I find this to be very problematic because you're constantly looking in the past to see what people are going to want in the future. You're constantly trying to chase after something that happened 20 years ago in a completely different world. What do you think is different about an MMO that succeeds in 2024 or 2025?
Butcher's
The
back.
problem, from my point of view, is that MMOs are ungodly expensive to make.
Yeah.
So if you're going to ask your
Yeah,
publisher to give
insanely.
you $100 million to make a game, and then you say, well, we don't know if players are going to like it or not, that suddenly looks, pretty risky. But if you say, hey, we're going to make it a lot like World of Warcraft, the kids love World of Warcraft, that becomes a much easier sell.
So it's
of
course.
The reason we think we have a chance here is we're not going to.
Dude, they hit so hard.
We'll be able to say along the way, hey, players are really enjoying this game. They keep asking us, like, when's it going to launch? When can they play more? It feels like we're onto something here. Maybe now is time for us to launch and do big. But that allows us a lot more room to experiment along the way.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And like leading up to launch, publisher, like being able to get the money for it. So is your game going to be pay to win?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. All right.
What's wrong with you?
What a question.
You'll be able to play it.
Thank God, man.
I mean, and that's
So
that's
blunt.
the big question, right? With all of these new games, right? Is like you have everything about this game looks amazing because you're totally right. Like, how are you going to recoup these costs? And there's been conversation about that with Blue Protocol recently, Throne and Liberty, and I think there's another game as well that's an MMO that's coming out that's like kind of the but wait. What's your philosophy on monetization? How do you want to monetize Ghost in an ideal world?
So to start off, I was totally joking about pay to win.
Sorry, Techno.
Oh, damn. Next one.
Right now, if we had to guess, we would much rather do something
Should be cosmetics.
like a traditional box sale,
right?
Or maybe a sub, and probably not the free to play with microtransactions approach. Like that's been done. I think players are a little tired of it. It can start to feel like a lot of the development effort goes into new things to sell to players rather than the core content of the game. So, and I don't know. We'll see what the world looks like when we're closer to ship. But that's if I had to lock in an answer today, it would probably be that.
It is crazy because I am 1,000,000% tired of the free-to-play approach to MMOs. I don't like it. I like being told that, like, okay, you buy the game, pay your subscription, and you have a complete game. No other advantage can be purchases besides maybe, I guess, store mounts. But other than that,
Cosmetics, yeah.
I love just you buy the game, get a sub, and you're good to go.
Yeah. I think subs started to lose their favor, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago. But since then, like now, everyone has a sub to Netflix and everyone has a sub to Amazon and Game Pass. And again, maybe the tide will turn and there'll be some other monetization people are excited about in a few years.
Yeah, I cannot shudder to imagine what that could possibly be. You know, maybe finally by then NFTs will have caught on and people will have gotten into that.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, well, and that's another thing, right? Is like there's a lot of these like buzzwords, but you talked a little bit about having a game that like applies to everybody and a game that's like, you know, kind of appealing to a lot of different people for different ways. And, you know, it's not really as popular now because a lot of people brought it up, like the whole idea of like a metaverse. And whenever I think of a metaverse, what do I think of? I think of World of Warcraft. I think of an MMO, right? And so like, do you feel like a game like Ghost can be kind of like that extra like second space that people can play and like be on in the same way that people use Discord or, you know, like other games like that? I feel like the best example of a game that's actually kind of transcended and done a real metaverse is Roblox. And I'm curious to see, like, you know, because like I could see Blue Shards having a form of that functionality.
Yeah, I think when the magic happens in those games, it's because you finish up work or school or whatever, and you say, I just want to jump online and see what my friends are doing. And you can even do that through Discord or Steam or something like that. But that's when it starts to take on a social space, when you're like, I'm going to go see what my friends are doing. Let's see what kind of mischief we can get into tonight. That's a different experience.
I'm so
than
slow
saying,
of
I'm
recognizing
gonna,
like what color it is.
I'm going to go on to Elden Ring and see if I can get a new sword or something.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And like one question is like, you know, you talk about Elden Ring getting a new sword. And I recently noticed this. I started playing Monster Hunter recently. It was a great game. I played Elden Ring as well. And I've noticed that games that are subscription based, usually it takes a lot longer to grind stuff. Like, I'm going to just be honest, right? It takes a while. And like, I'm curious, like, what is your philosophy on like rare items? Like, how do you feel like rare items, legendary items, like in your game, how would you get Thunder Fury in your game? How would you get Ashes of Alar?
When, as developers, I think even as players, when we talk about the grind, it's usually when the treadmill is kind of too in your face, when it feels like I need 1,000 shards of whatever to complete this legendary, and I pretty much can figure out that I get a shard an hour, so I'm looking at 1,000 hours of grinding ahead.
Naturally.
Players, you know, we all know how these games work behind the scenes. There's random drops, and I think it just depends on how in your face is it. If it's the kind of thing where I play and occasionally I get some shards, but I can't kind of math it out to, oh, the drop rate is X, I think it tends to feel a little better. I think there's a lot of room in our game for really rare drops, you know, chase items.
Oh, hey, I got a ton guard necklace. I see you.
Like super rare
I see
drops
you.
compared to Shadowmourne, which is like, oh, I have to like get these number of items, and I pretty much can math out how many of those it's going to take.
Yes, I've gotten both of those and all of the above, and it was, oh my God, getting Shadowmourne was a hell of a lot easier. It definitely was. So I definitely understand and appreciate that. And I think that, yeah, it's kind of like whenever you can see the man behind the machine, people start to lose interest and they're like, oh, I'm actually just on it. I'm actually just a rat in a cage. Oh my God, I can't believe it happened again.
We all know that there's a man behind the curtain. You just don't want to see it. Like, if I'm on the Pirates of the Caribbean,
Brother combos, clicks, L, click R
hold.
hold. Is that it? That's it, man.
You know, the strings and wires and exit signs and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Easy.
I saw there was an add-on
Easy.
in, like I think it's like Wrath of the Lich King.
Like,
where people
it's
have
so
the
cake, dude.
dollar
I love it.
amount of how much gold
Hey, for
is
my
worth
boomer hands,
right
it is
next to the
perfect.
trade window. And like that leads me to another question: is like
Literally,
obviously with a
for
lot
my
of
boomer
these,
hands, it's perfect.
With a lot of these games, you've got botting, you've got cheating. How do you deal with that? Because I feel like this is a plague. It's happening with like every game, especially now that things are being automated. I see people running like 72 instances of one game on one PC. It's crazy.
It's a really hard
Like
thing to
the
combat
APM
because
is so
on the
low
one
in this
hand,
class.
You want the player economy to mean
Like I've never
something.
played
A very easy way to
Guardian,
stop it is to say, well,
but I've
players can't trade
heard
anything.
Yeah.
And then maybe the only botting
that,
would be, do you want to buy an account?
you know,
or
it's
something?
less than Guardian
The reason
essentially.
buying often occurs is because things have value, whether it's gold or stones of Jordan or whatever. So if it can be automated now, it has a monetary value and someone's willing to pay real money for it. It is hard to combat. There's not easy ways to do it.
You doing over here just chilling?
Free-to-play games tend to be a little worse.
What are you doing over here
very
just
low
chilling?
barriers,
Huh?
like
What are you doing?
making 1 million accounts than
Get out of here,
at least
bruh.
something where you have to like sign in with an email and put down a little bit of cash to start an account.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, like, and also I think it's about how much people are able to interact with each other. Have you ever played PoE, Path of Exile? Oh yeah, I've gone in on that game so much. And it's like, I know there's people RMTing in that game, but like it never really affects me. Like I never really see it or feel it in the same way that you do with other games that have like large scale economies and stuff like that. So I kind of see what you mean. And like you mentioned,
it's like seeing the man behind the curtain. If you see a lot of bots running around, or you go to the auction house and you see that everything is massively inflated, it kind of breaks that suspension of disbelief that this is some kind of virtual economy.
Oh,
and
Butcher must be somewhere.
Feel like, man,
There he is.
I'm gonna farm for like 6 hours, and then somebody else is gonna bot for 6 hours, and they're gonna be sleeping. I'm gonna be working, and we're both gonna have the same item. You know, it kind of makes people feel like their time is worthless. And I think that's like one of the worst things to happen in like an MMO is like whenever you feel like the time that you've
Greetings,
invested in the
adventures.
game doesn't matter anymore. Like that's the worst thing. And you mentioned earlier about like kind of publishers and, you know, like trying to make sure that you hedge your bets. And I've seen a lot of studios, like obviously, you know, your studio with making Ghost, and, you know, you see Ashes of Creation, and there's a lot of these like very small studios that are coming up, and they're not going through the traditional means of, you know, big publisher like they did in the,
And I feel like
the Xbox One or the
the
GameCube
sustain
era,
is
right?
pretty good in like the 8, like you get a good amount of
Why do you
HP
think
back.
that's happening?
I mean, gosh, it's such a big topic.
Yeah.
There are strengths and
I need
weaknesses
to
to like
drop
signing
this
with a big
off.
publisher. The strength is you get all of their expertise, whether it's things like marketing,
Okay.
localization. Like, I think players sometimes forget how critical good localization is, meaning you want to, you know, get the game translated in all these different countries. A small dev team does not want to like stack their team with, this is our expert in the Polish language, this is our expert in French. Even though those are super valuable to the game being successful. So signing with a publisher gets you all that, but then it also gets all the overhead of, well, now the publisher has to say yes to everything, down to like, what's the name of our game going to be, and how do we market it, and when can we launch, and what platforms are we on? But traditionally, the alternative to that was you self-fund, either by, you know, Kickstarter, which tends to have pretty small budgets, or you get investors, usually in the form of you know, someone gives you a little bit of money and they want a return. So if you take very long to make the game, they start to get impatient, and those startups are always kind of in funding mode. And that's not something I'm great at or very excited to do. Like, I want to make a video game, not like constantly be getting seed rounds. So the opportunity we had was getting a company that basically said, look, we'll completely fund your development, but we're not going to be a traditional publisher kind of telling you what to do. You still have full creative control. And I was like, this sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I mean, and really, like, it is a bit of a selfish question I ask, because obviously, like, we started our publishing company, Mad Mushroom, and I'm curious, like, kind of, you know, from being in the space for so long, like, what do you think is the best thing for somebody like me or for us to do in order to, like, enable indie and small developers to do their best work?
Oh, that's a great question. I think anything that we can do to kind of take care of the crap that those smaller studios really don't want to deal with, like certification for platforms, for consoles, is awful. Things like localization, accessibility, like all of that is important, but not traditionally the way a small studio wants to staff up. So I think thinking about, you know, off-the-shelf solutions for stuff like that, or ways to outsource or crowdfund even. We were talking about this the other day. I have a love-hate relationship with add-ons, like UI add-ons,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
hate the arms race aspect. But one of the things we really love is how the community can kind of step up and add accessibility options for like different types of color blindness or font size or anything like that. A small studio really struggles to offer all of those options, but once you kind of unlock the ability for end users to mess around with UI, you get a lot of that stuff. Not quite for free, but certainly you get some of it.
You think Ghost is going to have add-on functionality?
Again, who knows? We're a long
Right,
way from ship.
right.
But if I had to guess today, I would say we will allow a lot of add-ons that let you customize things the way you want, but not a lot of add-ons to kind of make combat rotations easier. Like, you know, if we do anything like a weak auras, it would be built in and not, you know, a mandatory add-on that you have to have because the game doesn't give you enough information about what's really going on.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I watch people that raid and they have the weak aura on, and it's like some sort of like a torture thing where they're like playing air horns and they're saying different words constantly. Like, what is this? So yes, I'm very, very happy to see that. And
I mean, no shade to weak auras. It's awesome software, and
It is.
You know, I think it's solving a need that the game by itself isn't solving, and that's not to say Ghost just needs weak auras built in. I think it's more about, can we build Ghost in such a way that the combat isn't so dependent on, oh, that debuff just dropped off, you better freaking get it back on the boss or you're gonna wipe.
yeah, I mean, people wouldn't use it if it didn't work. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, I think that like one really big indicator is like there are certain fights where there are things that are internal timers, and then there's also things where there is like an external timer that you can see.
Oh, look at that. Back
is
to
just,
back.
like,
I'll take
visual.
it.
Like, for example, the boss having an energy bar or something like that that you don't really need a third-party resource for. And I feel like that's something that games used to do a lot of, and now we're finally starting to see them do more of it, where there's like more just blatant visual indicators that a more observant player can kind of pick up on.
I think like Final Fantasy, even
Look at that,
Destiny
back to
do
back.
a
Let's
better
go.
job than World of Warcraft about, hey, you're standing in the fire, get out of the fire.
Right.
And I can pick on WoW because I worked on it for so long. Some of that's a limitation of the game. Some of it's just the taste of the game makers to not be too overt about. I mean, you can take it too far. I think, was it?
Right, where's it
I'm
at?
on the game now.
Oh, over here.
They would put like just red target indicators, like don't stand on the red target indicator.
Well, Lost Ark has that, and also Final Fantasy has. Well, they have uniform target indicators, and it's like, yeah, I think that like, yeah, giving people too much information can kind of feel like you are in a, you're on a ride at Universal Studios or something like that.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Yep. This is your socks without today's sponsor, Vessi. Just disgusting, sloppy, wet socks all day. But that doesn't have to be your reality. Vessi has created a series of stylish 100% waterproof shoes and other clothing that can help turn rainy days into something to look forward to. Vessi uses the power of advanced Diamondtech technology to make Mother Nature look, well, let's just say, pathetic. Might I suggest that you start off 2024 with some delectable Soho sneakers or Alta High Tops? The Alta High Tops are perfect for this winter. They'll keep your socks dry and your feet warm too. Finn, here's your socks. The Soho sneakers are a lower profile option with grippy outsoles, a synthetic leather exterior, and waxed finished laces. You can also cop their overcast jacket and waterproof gloves. Not to mention the new Stormburst adventure-ready shoes. Don't get dumped on by rain this winter. Shop Vessi. You can visit Vessi.com/steak-eggs to grab your own Vessi gear today. That's VESSI.com/steak-eggs. Link is in the description. And thank you, Vessi, for sponsoring our podcast.
What have you learned from like working on League that would give you insight into an MMO?
A big one is the the champion design, like those characters have a lot of depth with relatively few abilities. Like
Yeah, I like this
traditionally four
podcast.
abilities, it often creeps up a
Pretty
lot
chill.
larger than that today. But that's still a lot fewer abilities than your average MMO has, and you can still make a lot of interesting combat situations. Of really high skill check and a lot of depth with.
So I think having the
few
front
abilities.
guard really helps out a lot too, to
Not
like
say
absorb
our
some of that
classes
damage.
will be as small as league champions, but I think there's hope there that you can do a lot with less.
So is that something, because like I think about that a lot. That's a really good point, because like you think about a game like Elden Ring, for example, think about how many different things you can do in that game, but how many things basically come down to left click, right? If you want to do an attack, it's like you're doing a situational left click, right? And like how much of that are you going to implement into Ghost, like in terms of attacks that are modified by, let's say, if you're moving or not, or attacks that are modified if you're jumping or not, or something like that.
I feel like I'm not
Is
doing
that
too
a
bad
philosophy
with
that
my
you
money
wanna
per hour
see
right now.
added into the game, or do you want to have more traditional
Considering
abilities like World of Warcraft, well, especially
that
like with Classic, right?
probably
Where it's
like
you just
15
use the
minutes I didn't
ability
even
and then it
play.
happens?
We're talking about this right now. I had meetings on this today of can we do more with like combos and positional and situational attacks, so it's not just hitting the buttons as soon as they come off cooldown. Like Brian Halinka, our lead gameplay
Dude,
designer,
tab targeting's
talks
so
about
boring, man.
World of Warcraft is kind of stand and deliver. Like you stand there and you hit and you hit and you hit. It doesn't feel like a real combat, or even doesn't feel like a combat in a lot of games where there's some movement around and you're dodging and you're charging and you're getting behind the target. You're just kind of sitting there and whacking it with your weapon and looking for my buff fell off, so I need to like hit it again to get the buff back on again. Is a lot of the WoW gameplay.
I know, and like I remember I watched, like, there was this one guy and he did a series of like going through classic WoW, and he was a league player, and he said all WoW is standing and hitting. And it was
Are you
like
talking about Rav?
yeah,
Rav's
exactly.
great.
And like I'm sure that like people would think that, and like yeah, sure, there's more nuances to it than that, but at the same time, yeah, it does have an element of that. And I think that it's like, how do you create that visceral responsive combat that something like Monster Hunter, something like Elden Ring, something like any
BDO.
of these other action combat games, Devil May Cry,
BDO?
has,
Come on,
that
dude.
everybody
BDO.
wants to have, but in
Really?
an MMO, it's like, well, you can't have the boss get staggered by every attack when there's 40 people hitting it, right? So like, how do you balance that?
We talked today about
boss staggered. Well, yeah.
You think of, and again,
BDO doesn't have that.
On WoW, it's a wonderful game that I've played for many years. It's just a good point of reference. Things like Bloodlust in WoW, you generally hit the second the pull starts, unless there's some boss mechanic that tells you really should save it for another time. But there are other games that'll do like a stagger mechanic, or you've got the boss in a weakened position right now. So now is when you really want to kind of pile on the cooldowns. That's something we talked about just today. Do we want a combat that's a little more about get the boss to the vulnerable state, and that's when you really want to pile on the damage?
Yeah, and it's like, is the vulnerable state, I'm kind of curious what your insight is on this too, because you have certain games that it's like everything is scripted in terms of like the vulnerable state will occur at 4 minutes and 34 seconds into the fight. So you want to make sure that you're using your 1 minute and 30-second trinkets. And so it's like, it's very formulaic in that way. And then you have other games where, like, for example, Lost Ark, you have a stagger bar or stagger meter, and PoE 2, for example, is adding this too. So like, how much of that do you think is good to have it be dynamic based off of how players are doing the fight in real time versus having it be kind of programmed? Because if you have it be dynamic, then you can have a bunch of people try to like game the fight, and if you have it be programmed, then you can have it be boring.
I mean, they're testing different skills, and I don't know that one is necessarily right or wrong. You can test game knowledge and timing and that sort of thing. You can also test reflexes and the ability to detect new information. I tend to be a little bit, as a player, I enjoy the more dynamic situation rather than someone saying, okay, the key to this fight is waiting till minute 4 and then pushing this one button. Again, it is a skill check. It's just, in my opinion, less interesting.
Yeah.
Must
have
mess
you
up.
played Lost Ark at all? Oh yeah, okay. Because like yeah, a lot of these examples you're giving me, like these are things that Lost Ark has, and they've tried doing, and like that game has some really incredible raid encounters. I mean, obviously
Dude,
it's a
what?
it's a very different experience because it's an isometric game, and like camera angle, I think is a big component, and like
Kind of annoying.
is Ghost going to be a free look camera, same as like
Is it gonna
World of
reset? Like, what's going on
Warcraft,
here?
Final Fantasy, or is it going to be isometric or fixed
Yeah,
like
it's really annoying.
or League?
Probably it will be a free camera like Final Fantasy.
Okay.
But I agree with you that Lost Ark does a lot of things right, and
They sure
to me
do.
that feels a little more like a quote unquote modern MMO and something we're trying to learn from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I remember doing Vaulton. I
Okay,
feel
I
like
guess it's not
Vaulton is
gonna
probably
reset.
the best ARPG fight isometrically that I've ever done. It was incredible. Yeah. And so I'm really happy to hear that. Because like you have a lot of these games that, really get the combat right. It's just, man, if only
That's
the game wasn't pay to win.
interesting.
And like, a few other things, that would be nice. And so yeah, I'm really happy to see that. And what is your like so you have like this is kind of a weird thing, right? Because you're talking about like having things certified for consoles. How do you feel about cross-platform compatibility with like a PC player being able to play with a PlayStation player, and even as far as mobile, because WoW had a mobile app, but that was it.
Overall, we're fans of the idea that you could play cross-platform.
Yeah.
Maybe your buddy has an Xbox and you have a PlayStation, or maybe you have both. And tonight, you don't have the big TV, so you got to go play on your PC. It's nice to be able to just kind of move your character over and start playing. I think where it gets dicey is if you dictate the experience has to be exactly the same, and within like
it's kind of difficult.
the world first raid, if there's not 25% of people on Switch and 25% people on PlayStation, you failed. So if players decide PC is the way to do cutting edge combat, that's fine. We're not going to try to make everything exactly equal as long as it is playable and feel like you can, make some progress. Right now, mobile is not something we're investing in. If the game is awesome and people love it, maybe we'll consider it. But right now, it just mobile is really different. You have to worry about things like, how do I add dialogue to these characters when I can't have a big download and things like that?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And mobile games definitely have like a bad rap. And so it's kind of hard also, like, and this is an issue, right? Because like, especially as a smaller studio, you're managing expectations. And I feel like expectations have changed so much this year. Like the biggest example, like last year it was Elden Ring. This year it's Baldur's Gate 3. And like, how much do you think games like that, these like massive blockbuster mega games, kind of shift the expectations? Because you look at something like, for example, Starfield. Starfield, I think, was an average game, right? It wasn't great. It wasn't the worst game ever. It was just kind of average. But people perceive it as being a lot worse, for example, because you're comparing it with Baldur's Gate 3. At least in their mind, right? And there's a lot of people that like Starfield. I'm not trying to shit on them, but that's just how people see it. And so how do you manage those kinds of expectations? And do you think that like these big games coming out are like affecting those expectations in a positive way, in like a negative way, or what? Because I've heard a lot of discourse about this with game developers over the past couple of years.
I think you just have to be very clear about where are you really trying to make an impact on players? Where are you trying to be?
All right, I'll finish this one up,
like,
then we're done.
Baldur's Gate did really,
What's your
really
AP?
well on the companions
My
and their
AP
interactions and things
yeah.
like that. And then I think secondarily
is,
like
I think it's like over 300.
bazillion different
I'll tell you in a second.
paths through the game. Like, you want to kill this NPC or save them. That's kind of it. Like, it's a well executed game, but no one looks at Baldur's Gate and says, what I love about this game is it has like, I don't know. The combat's okay, right? It's good. It's not, no. I even think that the previous
Divinity
games probably a better combat. Yeah, I think the Divinity games have slightly better combat. But where Baldur's Gate
Oh,
really
come
best in
on.
class is the companions, and where Elden Ring is
Of
really
course
best
I'm
in
overweight.
class is like this, gigantic
Jeez.
open world and this feeling like I can just hop on my horse and go anywhere and kind of find something cool there. So I think as long as you really blow it out of the water in a couple of places, players are kind of willing to be forgiving of other
Oh
aspects.
my gosh.
So it's like
Dude.
you talk about like the branching storylines, and I remember seeing your tweet
Okay.
about that exactly. And like those are the 2 points that I think
Oh,
that
wow,
you
look how
brought
slow
up.
I am.
And I definitely agree, because if you
Slow-mo.
ever, and like this is not really a very great way to look at it, but like if you look at TikToks, there's
Wow,
all
this is so
TikToks
slow.
of different characters saying different things in Baldur's Gate, or different things about Shadowheart or Astarion or something like
Hold
that.
on.
Or with Elden Ring,
Let me
I think that you're right
see.
too, with like people finding, you know, this serendipitous, oh my God, this
Serendipitous. Just wondering if you kill Gyfin before it dies or not. I feel like I kill him pretty quickly. Oh yeah, so my AP 303, 410. I do have only a Tet Black Star. So, but yeah, I feel like I kill him pretty quickly. Let me see. Let me get my horse here over here. I feel like that wasn't bad, honestly. Considering like 10 or 15 minutes, I wasn't even really playing. The 20, I mean, I definitely think I could pull at least above 25K easy without even really trying to do much. Just wonder if you kill Gyfin before it turns around. Here, I'll show you again. Let's see. But yeah, I feel like it's pretty quick. All right, I'll get the buff. Like I don't know. Do you think that's pretty quick? It's honestly been a while since I've been to Gyfin here. Stuck. Come on. What combo do you use? All right, I'll show you. Um, I have it. I have it over. Oh, hopefully I don't mess someone's rotation up. Sorry, dude. I'm going out. I promise. Is that shy? It's pretty good though. I feel like that's pretty good in an hour. I don't know how much I made there, but I'll put that into Garmoth here. Let me show you the combo though. I don't know. What do you? Not bad. Yeah, I definitely think it could be even a little bit quicker. I mean, I'm still like trying to get the combination down, but essentially, I'll show you here. Let me go to Battle Arena. Might be a little bit easier. See Battle Arena. I'll go to 6. But I think it's pretty good. I mean, you can add or take in out a few things, but I think overall, for the most part, this is a decent kind of combo setup and super easy. I mean, like it's like bread dead, easy, brain dead, easy. Gosh, I can't even. Ooh, I'm tired. Let's go here. All right. So, oh wait. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So essentially, you want to make sure you hit C first because that's going to give you like your little fog buff. And then, I kind of forget to do W, R, and B actually, to be honest with you. So yeah, you can hit C and then W and then you just kind of go in this right here. And then usually when I get to this part right there, I'll turn around and I hit C. And then I'll go ahead and do my Shift E, Shift F, Shift L and B, Shift R and B, Shift Q, space, C, and then I start all over again. And then C, and then Shift F, or Shift W, Shift E, Shift F, Shift L and B, Shift R and B, Shift Q, space, C, and then do it again. And then C, and then C, then you go again. I mean, it's honestly pretty easy. Is it the most effective PvE combination? Probably not, but it's super easy. Oh, it's not that long. So APM kind of low. Yeah, it's very low. It's very low. Like literally, I mean, like it's so easy, dude. I love it. It's so easy. So easy for my boomer hands. But yeah, literally just hit C. And you go again. So it's literally just like an infinite kind of repeat. And like the shift skills, that's like kind of your bigger AoE skills. Yeah, super easy. That's kind of pretty much it in a nutshell for the most part. Like I said, you could probably add in a little bit more stuff. Like you could do like you could do, let's see, this into this, right? And then you go into that. And then you could do like C, Shift F, or Shift E, Shift F, Shift L and B, Shift R and B, that. And you could like hold F. There's another skill. I mean, there's definitely a few things you could like kind of spice it up a little bit. But I feel like for the most part, the way I have it, like you're using most of the main skills that you want to use. So you're not using the other kind of like absolute skills. Like I'm pretty sure like the F skill, if you just like hold F. Yeah, this one, right? So it's like an absolute skill. I mean, the damage is not bad, but you know, you probably want to be trying to use all of your prime skills, because that's really where your damage is at. I guess that is a part of your F, maybe. Huh. Oh, I see. Okay, so that's the beginning of it. And then I guess as you're holding it down. Oh, well, I don't know. That's weird. This one. Yeah, like this is a good one for like a DP, right? So you get plus 20 DP for this one. Yeah, this one right here is good too, because this one gives you all evasion rate -6, accuracy rate plus 25. So this is not a bad one here to like kind of open up with. I don't think I ever I don't know if I've ever used this one. Yeah, I've never used that one. So that's another one you could throw in there as well if you wanted to. I don't know if I like how it goes back though like that. Yeah, I mean there's definitely a few skills you can sprinkle in. Let's see. Let me go back out. Let me log this into Garmoth here. Solo spots, underground, Gyfin. Yeah, I want to get to level. Oh, geez, I'm already almost level 61. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I want to get to level 61. And then try out some other spots potentially. Maybe I need a level 62. I don't know. Where are you at, underground Gyfin? There you are. Let's see, add. What class? Dosa suck. 237% drop rate. Or oh, wrong thing. There we go. My horsey. So we'll say 20,000 ish. Because I already had 1,000 kind of on my horse. So we'll say 20,000. Yeah, I definitely think I can get that up pretty high. Let's see, 340, 63, 158. Those 39, 1, 20. $30. Got one necklace. Two of those. Got 7. Wow, 7 of those. Ooh, 828 million. Not bad. Not bad at all. let's see if I change this to 26. Where does that put me at? $26, 978 million. Yeah, that's not bad at all. See, with my striker, I was getting like 24, 25,000. So yeah, I definitely think I can pump it up. Pump it up. Cool. All right. Well, not a bad hour. We'll keep on grinding here and level up a little bit more. But so far I am really liking this class a lot. So super easy for my boomer hands. I feel like the damage is pretty good for the most part. I'm sure other areas, other grinding areas, it might not be as good. I mean, I still think my only concern a little bit is the AoE is not as big as I would like it to be. But pros and cons, I mean, it is super easy to kind of pick up and use. And I mean, there is a skill level with this class, right? Especially with movement and stuff like that. I think for PvP, probably not the best class for PvP, but I definitely think it has its spot for PvE. That is for sure. So, and I'm sure as the time goes on, we'll either get some buffs or nerfs, depending. I'll be curious to see what the awakening weapon will be. Ugh. Yep. Time will tell. All right. Well, got to work tomorrow, so I hope y'all have a good day tomorrow. New video will be coming out tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, hope y'all have a good day. Peace out.